guys, I'm going to play 20 questions with you today, and this is all going to be related to books, so this is going to be a good time. The first question, how many books are too many for a series? I don't think there is a number. I really loved the Lemony Snicket series, and I think there were 13 books there, so if they're good, there can be as many as there should be. Second question, how do you feel about cliffhangers? I'm not a big fan of cliffhangers. It really depends on the book. There have been a couple exceptions where I enjoyed the cliffhanger if I could see like a valid reason for it, but if it actually just kind of left me hanging and I feel like I didn't get closure out of the book, then I'm not a fan. Third question, hardcover or paperback? I'm a paperback girl all the way. I like to lay down in my bed when I read, and so the hardcover always makes it distribute the weight too much and I get too much pressure on one arm and it hurts, so paperback always. Favorite book, I'm gonna go with my favorite novella on this one because I think it's a beautiful novella that everybody should read. The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I think he does an awesome job of using magical realism to reconceptualize isolation and show people their feelings in their own feelings in a different light. My least favorite book is Lolita. Love triangles, yes or no? I would say no. I'm not a big fan of love plots in general. The love triangle doesn't bother me if it doesn't take up the majority of the story. I do not want the majority of the stories to be romance. I'm not a romance reader. Next question. The most recent book you couldn't finish was It. I love Stephen King, I do, and I really, I love all his work, and I love the story of It, but I just could not get through that book, man. There's like one scene, and it was just it for me. I was done. I was like, this is not what I want in my head right now. Next question. A book you're currently reading? By Mark Manson. This is a great book for current events. It gives you new perspectives on hope and creating hope and what it means to create hope and have it. So definitely pick up a copy of that if you can. The last book I recommended to someone was A Mercy. It was somebody who had just told me they finished reading Beloved, and that was the first Toni Morrison they ever read, and they wanted to read more Toni Morrison. So I was like, A Mercy was one of my favorite of all her stories. It is definitely a good read. Next question. The oldest book I've read by publication date? I do not know the answer to that. I took a class on vampires when I was in college, and we read a lot of really old books in that class, so although I don't know the exact answer, I can tell you that it had to do with vampires. The newest book I'm reading by publication date is by Mark Manson. I just recently started reading this one. I am pretty close to finishing it too, but that's definitely the newest one I think I've read, although I might be wrong. My favorite author, probably Junot Diaz. That's a tough question. I like a lot of authors, but Junot Diaz has been pretty consistent with like all of his books hit me with the same amount of velocity, and they always make me, I just really love all of Junot Diaz's books. Buying books or borrowing books? I'm a big fan of buying for two reasons, and the first reason is that support your local bookstores. I'm a big fan always of going to the local places and picking up whatever they recommend, honestly. But I also like to buy books because one day I plan on having a library that is just a collection of all books that I have read. So if somebody lets me borrow a book and I finish it, I always go out and buy my own copy because I want that library one day. It's getting big too, the library. A book you dislike that everyone seems to love. Okay, so I like the first 7 Harry Potters, like the original ones. But then after that, when we get into like the other stuff, I'm not a big fan of any of those. Like J.K. Rowling stuff after the first 7 Harry Potters is just not something I've ever been a fan of, but everybody else seems to really love it. So I guess that would be a great answer for that question. Bookmarks or dog ears? I'm a bookmark girl. I like picking up bookmarks everywhere I can. I also will just use ribbons or I'll stick whatever in there, but I'm definitely not a dog ears girl. A book I can always reread. That's a tough one. Probably To Kill a Mockingbird is the one that I come back to the most. I love that book. I love everything in that book. and I've probably come back to it like 6 or 7 times in my life now. I've come back to The Great Gatsby a lot too, but it definitely doesn't hit me the same way that To Kill a Mockingbird does. Can I read while listening to music? Not at all. It's impossible for me to read while listening to music. I can do it successfully with graphic novels. So when I was reading Fun Home, I think I had music on in the background. I sometimes can manage it if it's music without any lyrics, but if there are lyrics, I can't read. One point of view or multiple? I would say one. I like to follow one character throughout a story, but I also like it when their perspective changes. So like I like if it's told from third person following one person, and then other parts are told in first person or second person. I find a lot of value in changing perspective, like rather than the character's point of view, I guess, if that makes sense. Do I read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? It depends on the book. Some of them I pick up and I love it and I cannot possibly put it down. Other books, I pick it up and I really like it, but I also need some time to like digest the information and reflect on it. So that one depends. And who do I tag? Somebody at the bookstore. Kim, if you haven't done one of these, I'm going to tag you. But if you have done one of them, then I'll tag Phil. Thank you.